Ever wished you could just like conjure up images, can you have the snap of your fingers, like be able to say, I want a picture of a monkey wearing a tutu playing the drums, and bam, there it is.
Well, that's basically what we're diving into today, DALL-E. It's this AI that takes your words and turns them into actual images.
It's pretty wild, right? Like, what is this sorcery?
Straight up AI wizardry. It's not just one program, though. It's a whole family of these DALL-E models, all made by OpenAI. Each one gets even better at making these crazy images from, well, pretty much anything you can describe.
So each new DALL-E is like an upgrade, like getting the newest phone, but for AI art.
Exactly. We had the first DALL-E, then DALL-E 2 came along, and now they've got DALL-E 3, each one building on what came before.
Okay, so walk us through this evolution. What's so special about each generation?
Well, the first DALL-E, back in 2021, was mind-blowing at the time. It used this modified version of GPT-3.
GPT-3, that rings a bell.
Right. It's that super powerful language AI. Basically, they took this thing that was already a master of words and taught it to paint.
Whoa. Okay, so that's DALL-E 1.0. Then things got even crazier, right?
Oh, yeah. DALL-E 2 hit the scene in 2022, and it was a huge leap. Higher resolution images could handle way more complex prompts, and it could blend concepts like nobody's business.
That's got to be where that avocado armchair thing came from, right? I remember that image was everywhere.
Bingo. That was DALL-E 2. It really captured everyone's imaginations, showed just how creative this tech could be.
Okay, so now we're in 2023, and we've got DALL-E 3. What's the big deal with this latest version?
Well, for one, it lives inside ChatGPT now, which is a whole other level of AI awesomeness. But more importantly, DALL-E 3 is all about nuance. Even more detail, understands what you mean even better, and the images it spits out are just mind-blowingly good.
So it's like it actually gets what you're going for, not just slapping together random images based on keywords.
Precisely. And it can even mimic different art styles. Want a photorealistic image? It can do it. Want something that looks like a Van Gogh? DALL-E 3 is your guy.
Okay, now that is just showing off. So how does this even work? Like, under the hood?
Let's just say it's complicated. But we'll try to break it down for you after the break.
Sounds like a plan. Stay tuned, folks. We're going deep on DALL-E. All right, so back to the million-dollar question. How does DALL-E actually work? You said something about deep learning before the break.
Right. Deep learning is how DALL-E got so smart. Imagine feeding a computer a gazillion images and descriptions, like every artwork and photo in the Library of Congress times 1,000.
Okay, so like an AI art history buff.
Basically, DALL-E chews through all that data and learns to connect words with visual elements. It figures out what a cat looks like versus a castle or a cupcake.
So it's not just memorizing images. It's actually learning like a human art student would, but on a massive scale.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. It also uses something called SLELEB, Contrastive Language Image Pre-training.
CLP. Okay, that sounds even more intense. What's that all about?
So CLP is like DALL-E's secret sauce. It helps it understand the meaning behind the words, not just the words themselves.
Give me an example. I'm a little lost.
Okay, say you type in a fluffy cat wearing a tiny hat. CLIP helps DALL-E understand that fluffy refers to the cat's fur. Tiny modifies the hat, and the hat should be on the cat's head, not like floating nearby or something.
So it's like CLP gives DALL-E common sense about how things relate to each other in an image.
Exactly. It's what makes the images look so real and thought out. And get this, DALL-E doesn't just do realism. It can do different styles too, like a painting or a cartoon.
No way.
Yeah.
So I could ask for like a cat wearing a hat in the style of Picasso.
You got it. Or Monet, or even like a 16-bit video game sprite. It's pretty amazing.
Okay. Now I'm just imagining all the crazy stuff people could create with this. Are there any limits to what DALL-E can do?
Well, it's not perfect. Sometimes it gets tripped up by really complex prompts with too many details, like giving someone directions with 15 turns, they might miss one.
So you're saying it could forget to put the cat in the cat wearing a hat picture?
Well, not quite,
Yeah.
but it might get some details wrong, and for some reason, numbers still throw it off a bit. Ask for 7 ducks and you might get 6 or 8.
Well, hey, nobody's perfect, right? But even with those quirks, the potential here is huge. This is way bigger than just making funny images.
Oh, absolutely. DALL-E is raising some seriously big questions about the nature of art, the role of AI, and even ethics.
And those are exactly the questions we're going to tackle next, so stick around. Okay, so we've talked about what DALL-E can do, but let's get into the big what-ifs. Like, what does this mean for artists, the humans behind the art?
Yeah, there's definitely some anxiety there, right? If a computer can whip up a masterpiece from a text prompt, what's stopping it from taking over, making human artists obsolete?
That's the big question, isn't it? Like, is this the end of art as we know it?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, look at photography, right? When it came around, some people panicked, thought it'd be the death of painting, but obviously that didn't happen.
True, true. Photography just became its own art form, so
Mhm.
maybe it's not about replacement, but evolution.
Exactly. The DALL-E and these AI art tools, they're like new tools in the artist's toolkit. Ways to experiment, to push boundaries, maybe even speed up some of those tedious tasks that take forever.
Okay, so that's kind of hopeful, right? But there's still the question of, like, what makes art valuable? If anyone can type in a prompt and get something amazing, does that devalue the art itself?
That's a big one, and honestly, there's no easy answer. But it's a conversation worth having. Like, how do we define value in art? Is it the skill, the time spent, I don't know, the soul the artist pours into it? Or is it more about the idea, the concept, regardless of how it's executed?
Deep thoughts, man. And this tech is so new, we're kind of figuring it out as we go. What about the legal stuff? Who owns the copyright for a DALL-E image?
Oh, now that's a whole other can of worms. It's murky, legally speaking. Some say it should be the person who wrote the prompt, because they're the ones guiding the creation, right? Others argue it's OpenAI's because them made the tool.
Yeah, it's like, is DALL-E just a fancy paint crush? Or is it more like, I don't know, an artistic collaborator? And if it's a collaborator, does it get co-authorship? My head hurts.
Mine too, don't worry. But hey, that's technology for you. Always pushing boundaries, forcing us to rethink old systems.
Speaking of boundaries, what about the potential for, like, misuse? I mean, this tech is powerful. Couldn't it be used for bad stuff too?
Definitely concern. Imagine DALL-E being used to create fake news images, propaganda, stuff that looks real but isn't. That could get really messy really
Yeah,
fast.
deepfakes are already a problem, and this could take it to a whole other level. It's kind of scary, honestly.
It is, which is why ethics in AI, it's not just some abstract idea anymore. It's crucial. We need rules, guidelines, something to make sure this incredible tech is used for good, not to cause harm.
Totally agree. We've got a responsibility here, all of us. So, where do we go from here? What's the takeaway for our listeners today?
Honestly, I think the biggest takeaway is simply to keep asking these questions. Stay curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to voice your concerns, because the future of AI, it's not some predetermined thing. It's being shaped right now by all of us.
Well said. DLA. It's not just about pretty pictures. It's a glimpse into the future, and it's up to us to make sure that future is a bright one. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI art.